Have to make sure I can see you. I can see you. Welcome in. Thanks for hanging with us on this short slate Tuesday. We only have 2 games to get into, but there are a lot of different angles, a lot of value on the board for no house advantage. So we appreciate you hanging with us on the NHA NBA Strategy Show. Myself, Terry's in the house. As always, Tyler is producing, as always, and you're hanging with us where we just ask the 2 things that you're accustomed to being asked. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed. And I think we've just been having fun with this, really show in and show out each week, Terry, where we almost kid and say, well, you're really going to have to work this time because we're probably going to get into the 70s. And we rarely, if ever, crack that number. This case, the slate now with only 2 games, we all are going to have to work now in order to find some deeper value, because one thing to remember here as we're about to get into it, my friend, is for all the people that are new to NHA, you can't load up on one guy. So if you see Hamidou Diallo's stats and just projections across the board all over, one play, one guy on the ticket, that's it. So choose wisely, and that's why we have Terry here.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, I was amazed by just how many choices are actually on the board on Prize Picks today, like by comparison to just the sheer amount of choices we have in making lineups on the other DFS sites. On Prize Picks, we've got 351 different choices we could potentially make here. A lot of them are, some of them are a lot better than others, but there's a lot of different directions you can go in building a lineup. It's a lot more interesting for today's slate specifically, when we've got such a limited pool of potential players even to work with. It makes it fun. There's a lot. It's like you said, we're going to have to do some hard work. We're very quickly into the 70s once we start looking at some of these repeat players. But I think we can find some good looking picks on the board here, though.
How about Damien Lee? I mean, he's the best place, I think, to start with at least the number, because all of these hundreds have not been zeroed out, like taken off of our projections, but these guys are not playing clearly because their team isn't playing clearly. So you don't have to worry about Lonzo Ball or somehow John Collins making an appearance for the Warriors tonight. That's not going to happen. So when we start to sort by playable guys, I mentioned Diallo, he's right there at the top for overs. And we always like, even if we're forcing it, we like to start with the overs. And this time, though, it's hard to ignore that we have Lee and even a couple of other guys in Corey Joseph and Jordan Poole, who are all in the 90s. Those 3 have different plays, all of those in the 90s. So technically we have 3 different players, Terry, to build tickets with in the 90s. I don't know if you necessarily like the under here over Diallo and some other overs in the 80s, but at least we have a place to start with Lee, Joseph, and Poole.
Yeah, and I think that's the right spot to start for sure. The Lee one is interesting. He is probably going to come down in minutes. We've got him projected for 10.5 right now. Over the last 3 games, he's averaged 24.7. And they've been without Gary Payton Jr. and a bunch of other people. Andre Iguodala is questionable for today. Everybody knows Draymond's been missing, and the entire league's been missing pieces. But most specifically, Gary Payton Jr., he's expected to come back today. He's been upgraded to probable now. So that's just going to knock down Damien Lee. Back to like 4 games ago, he saw just a handful of minutes. The game before that, he saw 9 minutes like 4 games ago. With Gary Payton playing 23. Game before that, Payton played 19, and Damien Lee didn't see any time on the floor. So I just expect it's a situation where his minutes are limited versus where that line came in. Even in an 8.5, now that we've got him cut down to 10.5 minutes, we're only seeing that projected as him putting up 4.18 points. So I think that's kind of a gimme on the board here. That one seems pretty obvious. The one thing we need him to do is take the floor for just at least a couple minutes for us. And as long as he doesn't cruise much past that 10.5, I think we're pretty golden on that one. So that one works for me as a starting point.
For Lee Lee at 8.5.
Yeah.
Not 10.5. Sorry.
8.5 on the line. Sorry. Yeah. I put that together. The line is 8.5. The minutes projection we have is 10.5.
Oh, that's my fault. I knew that it was on me, that I misunderstood something, maybe something a little subtle in that point. So glad I cleared it up, because maybe I'm not the only one that misunderstood. And again, it was on me, sure. not how you presented it. It was on me.
I doubt that, but
well, we've got PRAs for both Jordan Poole and Corey Joseph here. One each. It's the number 15.5. really projected for, oh, sorry, that's the line on NHA for Corey Joseph. Jordan Poole's a little higher, but still under that. We know that Curry's playing through this hand injury tonight. Klay Thompson still looks like he's getting 20 or so minutes. Andrew Wiggins doesn't mind shooting a bunch. So I don't know how that's playing into you approaching this for Poole, but there is over a 6-point gap between the line and Awesemo's projection here for Poole's PRA at least. And again, not to say that to sell the 4-point gap short with Joseph by any means. Both, though, in that 91 percentile of going under.
Yeah, and the Joseph one is maybe more interesting, just kind of a player in somewhat of a lesser role. He's been seeing over the last 2 games, he saw 27 and 26 minutes, so 26 and a half average. And we've got him cut back to 18 and a half as that rotation is getting healthy and kind of moving pieces around. It's a little bit unpredictable. And also over those 2 games, he saw a significant run in the fourth quarter in 2 blowouts. They're going to get lit up again tonight, but it's just kind of a question mark of exactly how many minutes he sees. So I'm kind of comfortable going to that Joseph one, assuming that he gets around like a 20-minute run as opposed to the 26, 27-minute run. It's similar with Jordan Poole, where just pieces with Gary Payton Jr. coming back as well, just pieces in that rotation that knock his minutes back. He's been averaging 28.3 over the last 3. He averaged, and we've got him projected at 23.9. In his 29.5 minute average for the season, Poole puts up a 23.6 PRA. So if he's getting close to his season average minutes of 29 and a half, that concerns me because he's kind of close to where that line is. We've just got him knocked back in terms of minutes by about 5 or 6 minutes for what our expectation of what he sees tonight is. So I think that one's going to be safe to go to as long as we're trusting those minutes. The one thing that would call into question for me is, like you said, just a little bit of an element of being dinged up, a little bit of an element of, not necessarily wanting to run Klay into the ground in his 5th game back, and an opponent that they're going to be lighting up like crazy. So is there a way that Jordan Poole cracks through, the 24 minutes and gets up toward his season average? I think that could be easy enough to see. So I'd be a little concerned with that one on that front. I like going to these guys that are just kind of lesser players in lesser roles, these 10.5-minute guys, these 15-minute guys when we're looking at these unders.
Is there another play? Because look, Poole is up there from points to PA and PR as well. So maybe this is not trying to force a PRA play and everything that you just laid out. And maybe there isn't, but I'm just curious. Is there another angle in which we can take advantage of super high projections that Poole is going to go under? For example, you take the rebounds and assists, you still have to hit 18 and a half points. You still need to get 19 points alone just to go over that. So now all of a sudden what you laid out with minutes might be enough to get you over that PRA number. But if you're taking 2 categories out, maybe that's enough. I don't know. I'm asking more than suggesting.
Yeah, they're all pretty close to what he would be on his season average. But again, it's just a matter of where the minutes settle in for. So like around lock, if you still see the minutes around 24 where we've got him right now, then I think we're pretty safe on getting to any of these. They're all coming in a few points. His season average is a few points below where that line is anyway. Like the points plus assists is 21 and a half. In his 29 and a half minutes, he's averaging 20.3 in points plus assists. So it's still slightly under, and we've got him projected to play 5 minutes less than that, or 6 minutes less than that rather. So I think there's a good track for it to go under. It's just like I was saying, a little bit shakier given the fact that we are projecting him for a decent amount of run tonight. And there is the idea that they could be lighting him up and he could see a few additional minutes beyond what Alex's current expectation looks like.
Yeah, so if they're up by 20 against Detroit in the second half, Poole's going to be straddling playing early quality minutes with getting out there in some garbage minutes is what you're concerned about?
Yeah, and just that it might push him up to where, it might push him beyond the 23-9 if they're just saying, all right, Klay, Steph, go take a seat. I see Poole not necessarily being one of those guys that they're going to be worried about. All right, if he sees, right, if he's out there for his 30-minute average, that's totally fine.
They don't have many
just
bodies.
a matter that say again?
They don't have many bodies to have that luxury.
Right, exactly. There's only so many pieces that they're going to want to rotate out there that are NBA capable bodies, even against the Pistons. So it's really, since that under is created by the delta that we've already got built into what we're projecting him for versus what he averages, that's the only reason it would come in as a concern for me.
So let's go back to the overs here. We're dipping a little bit at 84%, the highest. We have Diallo up there and also Steph in assists. Now, these are our 80 range here. Just making sure. I mean, technically, we could split a hair or two with RJ Barrett. Brings us into talking about your squad here in this game. Not sure if you're taking the 3 points at home against the Wolves, but before we even get that, we have two guys, really, well, three. Let's count Barrett in this conversation as well, because it's a thin enough margin to where if you have a gut play with Barrett over either Diallo or Curry, it's worth going to. But we have a couple of overs to look at here. And really, Diallo is the guy that's going to jump out at the top. And again, the top, to be fair, is 84%. You get into Curry assists, and then you start into Barrett, PRA, and just points and assists.
Yeah, and each of those is fine on its own. I think the Diallo one is doable up at the top there, the 84%er. It's a 15.5 line. That's not really asking very much. We've got him projected out at 26.4 minutes in a 22.2 minute season average. He's been averaging a 16.5 PRA. So he's already a one total above what his line is. And we're projecting him to play about 4 additional minutes beyond his season average, which is right in line with, he's been playing 24.3 over the last 3, 29 last time out, 26 the game before that. So projecting him for 26.4 minutes seems pretty reasonable in that Detroit rotation. So I have no real issue going to that. If you wanted to take an easier route, the points plus assists, I don't necessarily know that one's all that much easier. It's kind of the same situation where his average is slightly ahead of it, and we're projecting him for more minutes than he's averaging. So if you wanted to just go with the notion of giving him a little bit less to do, I'd be fine with taking the points plus assists. It's right there in the same percentage. So either one of those is totally fine by me. They're both reasonable expectation. And then the Steph Curry one, I'm always happy to take Steph Curry to do something, and 5.5 assists doesn't really seem like very much. He averages 6 assists on the season in 34.5 minutes. We're projecting him right at that 34-minute mark. So I don't really see any real problem with Steph getting to that number. We're projecting him for 7. And in that situation, in a game where they're going to be scoring pretty easily, lighting this other team up like we expect, as long as his teammates are making the buckets for him, I really don't see a problem with him getting to that 5.5. So 81 feels a little low, but it maths out right if he's averaging 6 in 34 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in 22 minutes, Klay Thompson, a concerted effort to just feed him the ball as much as possible. Wiggins has improved with guys around him, at least taking shots at the very least. It's no longer, and not that it ever truly was, but for a little bit, it kind of seemed that way without Thompson out there and kind of Wiggins feeling his feet, I should say. But it's not just stop and watch Steph shoot. There are plenty of guys that can get, we talked about Poole. I mean, isn't he's the second leading 3-point attempt guy on the team, right?
Yeah. And I think Tyler just DM'd us. Did we lose Steph for the night?
Is he out? I know he was questionable with the hand injury. He was taken off the injury report. Unbelievable.
So Tyler's saying it's just not on his NHA. It must have come off the board on NHA when he went questionable.
Okay. Because I was about to say, I just put this out here for the Island game that we're doing tonight, in which I was putting a couple of Steph plays on there. And I know that he was taken off the injury list, but look, he's still technically a game time decision. So we do have to factor that in. Now, if he's off NHA, then we'll just assume with everything else going on here that he's out. Let's move on from Curry for just a second here, though, and look at Barrett, because now we have 2 plays for Barrett. They're essentially the same as far as 79.4 or 78.9 PRA, PA, respectively hit. This is your guy on your squad here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the different choices that we've got, and it's funny. I'm trying to sort it through, and it looks like everything's in here twice. So when I said we had 380 something choices, it's actually just chop that in half. So I'm trying to parse through this because we've got each choice in here twice. But what I don't love about it is the assists part of that, right? He's been on fire with his scoring. He averages 2.5 assists per game. It's not really the biggest part of his game. I think he gets there, but I don't love it. What I was hoping to find would be like a threes, because he's just been on fire. Over the last 7 games, he's shooting almost 50% from three, but I don't see that one in here as a handy one in the 70% range. So yeah, the points is down in the lower 70s. Yep. So I guess, yeah, if we're looking to RJ, I would probably, that's points, rebounds, and the PRA is, his average is 25. So he's, yeah, I guess, because he's seen a major uptick in minutes recently too. He averages 32.5 minutes for the season. We've got him projected out at 38.1. Over the last 3, he's averaged 40.3 minutes. So in his 32-minute average, he averages a 25 PRA. So if we're giving him that edge of those minutes, I'm good with the PRA where it is. So we can take the PRA. We've got him projected at 29.9. It's a 24.5 at a 79% probable to come in. I like that one now that I'm thinking it through with the minutes. If he cracks 40 minutes again, he's going to blow through that without a problem. Whether it's more on the points and the reboundings than the assist side, it doesn't really matter.
All right, so you've mentioned something with Barrett that I want to touch on from a 3 standpoint here. So I was looking at the books to see what they had as far as a return for 4+ or 5+ threes. But how about this? Barrett on the books is at 20.5. Now, I don't know if that started it, to be fair. I don't know if that opened at 18.5 earlier in the day and people pounded the hell out of it. Stuff moves, of course. It's constantly a reflection of money. As opposed to NHA, where it's going to be stuck in that spot. But look at the difference. I mean, NHA has a 24.5 PRA, an 18.5 points in assists, and a 21.5 points in rebounds for Barrett. The books have set his point total alone, Terry, at 20.5. So if you think he's anywhere near that point total, these are all smashes, right?
Absolutely. And that's where you can take advantage of some of these spots, right? They're slower to adjust on some of these other sites than some of the books are. And they also leave some opportunities out there. They want people to go after these overs. They want people to have fun playing the site. It's not necessarily the same concept as like a straight book where this is, they're getting people into these contests. So they want it to be fun. They want it to be these close lines. They want some easy pickings on the board. So I think that's why they leave some of these, or they're not so aggressive about these lines in a lot of cases. And yeah, if that's the differential on those books, that's just telling about the additional minutes that he sees, let alone the, uptick in quality that he's seen recently. Just playing good ball. But with those extra minutes that Tibbs has been giving him, it just rate-wise, it all just mass out. So you don't even have to worry, even if he's having a somewhat lackluster night compared to where he's been recently, the numbers and the rates alone should get him there over the top just on his average performance.
Wow. Same game parlay here. You ready for this? Over 20.5. 4+ threes going to get you 365 back.
Ooh,
correlated, right? Bad. I mean,
right.
But you mentioned how well he's been shooting from 3. So I feel like the books haven't necessarily caught up. Like 4+ threes, part of me alone is plus 350. So you really don't get any return there adding the points because it only moves it 4 points because it's so correlated. So let me just take that out. 4+ threes alone at plus 340, though. You have me intrigued by playing this here.
So let me just see over the last games what he's been, how many he's been taking.
That's what I need. I need volume here, Terry. That's all I need on these 3+, 4+, 5+3 bets. I just need volume. Is he going to take multiple threes? Like there's certain guys I go to that I know, right, are just going to be absolutely launching, no matter the situation.
So that's the one concern with RJ, right? He doesn't shoot a ton of volume. He's up over the last 10 games. For the season, he only takes 5.5. He's up in the mid-6s. He's at 6.3 over the last 10 games. In that stretch, he's a 40.4% three-point shooter. If we zero that in on the last 7 that I was looking at earlier in the day today, he is taking... Still only 6. He's making 47.5% of them. He's making a hell of a lot of them, but he's still only taking 6. So you need him to have a hot night shooting still to hit that 4. He's making 2.8 a game in the last 7.
Plus 124 is not a, but look at the jump. It's plus 124 for 3+ threes, and then it moves to plus 340 for 4+ threes because they know
that's that big difference.
Exactly.
Yep.
They know that you just can't do it there. All right. How about this one? Here's a sneaky one here. No Noel tonight, right? So Taj Gibson gets a little bump in minutes behind Mitchell Robinson as well. Rebounds for Gibson. And look, it's at 78%. So we'll have to take what we can get here, but it isn't over. And we are appealing to a guy who should get a little bit more opportunity due to somebody in front of him being down. Is that a playable option for you to go over Gibson rebound? I mean, chances are you're not going to find that on the books. It's probably too small of a market play to bet, but over 3.5 rebounds for Gibson, we have that as a smash. Alex is at a 4.79 projection for Gibson.
I like that one a lot. To be honest, if I wasn't looking at the numbers, it would seem like just an absolute smash. You would think Taj, given 20-ish minutes in this game, could just trip over the sideline and still rebound 3.5 basketballs coming off the rim. So, I mean, it's just what he's out there for. He does dirty work around the rim. He's not a scorer. He's a defensive player and a protect the paint guy and a rebounder. So in 19 minutes a game for the season, he averages 4.6. We've got him projected for 19.7 minutes. He's been playing 18 per over the last 2, and that's around what he gets for the season is 19 and change. If he's going to be averaging over that, I see no reason that he would fall behind that one. He does go up against a couple sturdy rebounders on the Timberwolves side of things with Vanderbilt out there, with Cat out there, but I still like his chances. Even if you want to throw in the revenge narrative, once upon a time, I believe Taj was a Timberwolf, if I'm not mistaken. And Greg had a funny line. I think it was on yesterday's show. He was talking about Taj and just, Tibbs has been coaching this guy since the 1970s and just running him into the ground, but he's one of his guys. He loves him out there.
That's amazing. It's like the sacrifices you'll make physically to stay in a league.
Seriously.
Right? Seriously. It's like, you're going to get ground into shit, but you know what? Your bones will be old and raggedy before you even leave this league. Your body, your frame is going to be broken down, but you stayed in the league. Tibbs probably made Gibson and others an extra 10 to 15 million over the course of a career.
Right? Absolutely. I'm sure. And just different guys like that, right? It's like being a lefty reliever in baseball. Yeah. Like there's always going to be a job for you, right? Being a reliable 3-and-D guy or a grindy big man who can, play 18 minutes and pull down some boards and be, a reliable shot blocker and stuff. These are the guys that win you titles too. Maybe not Taj specifically, but guys like that.
Right. No. Come on. Now. Slow down with the title talk up there in New York. All right.
We got a long way to go, man. I love that Cam Reddish trade, but we got a long way to go.
Yes. Look, I'm in the same boat. Okay. My team has a long ways as well. Steph Curry, Terry, at threes projected is at 5.5 on NHA. We have an 80.58% chance that he stays under that, according to Alex's projection at 4.36. We know Curry hasn't been shooting the lights out per se. You do have Klay Thompson back. Poole is shooting. We mentioned Wig. Other guys are shooting. It is Detroit. He very well could not be out there for more than 25 minutes tonight anyway. So on the surface, this looks like a pretty strong play to go under this.
I think so. I'm surprised you never think in terms of taking a Steph under on threes made. It's typically when we're shooting for the over, right? Because he's just so damn good. Takes it from half court, makes it reliably. 4.9 threes made per game on the season, and he averages 34.5 minutes. If we have that idea in our heads that he might play a little less than that, I think it's pretty strong that we can take this one and be pretty comfy about it at 5.5. We've got him projected at 34.2 minutes. So we've got him projected for basically a full night, even against Detroit here. And we still got him coming in under 4.36. So at 5.5, I think it feels pretty strong. And with the idea of, there's 28 minutes is probably in the cards for Steph tonight, maybe 30, something like that, with Klay out there getting 31 to 34% usage while he's out there sharing the court. It makes a lot of sense to look at the under on that one. So I like it. I think we can lock that one in.
20 plus 2,400 for Curry, plus 4,300 for Cunningham. Those are the only two options for a triple-double tonight. Either have it in them.
Wow. I don't know. The limitation on time would be the concern for me with
Curry, right?
Yeah.
Cunningham is going to be out there. He's just probably not going to have the opportunity.
Yeah, that's... against that Warrior, even with no Draymond and everything, against that Warriors team, they're pretty stout. So I don't love that one either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was going to say, that maybe you could sneak in there with Thompson, because we did talk about just the minutes and how that's impacted Curry, Jordan Poole, some other guys that we talked about here. Clay's over-under is still at 2.5 for threes. This guy took, 14 shots in 22 minutes? It's ridiculous. Like, he's a guaranteed shooting machine out there. I feel like you almost have to go over, especially because you know that he's just one game away from coming back.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's Klay Thompson too. I mean, we know what he does on the basketball court. He's going to be taking these shots. He's taken per game so far in his limited comeback. He's taken 7 threes a game. He's only made 35.7% of them. You know, we can expect reasonably that might take up a little bit. Like you said, he's attempted 14 field goals a game despite only playing 20.7 minutes. So he's out there shooting. He's back to being Klay, whether they're going in or not, whether everything else he's doing on the court is the same. Maybe not quite there yet, but he's definitely shooting. So the volume's there. Why not?
We appreciate everybody hanging with us. By all means, we'll be back next week more with NHAs. We try and give you all of the best information, the data. Look, the good news is that what we have on site are projections right through our optimal lineups on Awesemo, all free for you to use alongside NHA. So please, in return, just hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed. And oh, by the way, why don't you take advantage of this promo code that we always tell you about at No House Advantage, Awesemo. We'll match your first deposit up to $25. Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll do it again next week.
Bud.
All right. Thanks again. Thanks to Tyler for producing. We'll see you guys.